Yo, yo, yo. Bromula One is back to bring you our predictions for the Singapore GP. It's been 2 weeks since our last race, and we're ready. I'm Caleb,
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Steven.
and this is Bromula One.
Let's go.
Yeah. How excited are you guys for the new track layout for the Singapore GP?
Dude, I'm excited. New layout, higher speed, down that back straight, I guess you could call it. I'm excited to see how it shakes things up and speeds up the lap times.
Get rid of those turns. We don't need those turns. We need more overtakes. I'm for it.
I agree. I heard that getting rid of those 4 turns potentially will shave 20 seconds off the average lap time.
That's crazy. That's way more than I thought.
Yeah.
20 seconds.
It was, some news article. If it's obviously not that much, I'm going to mention them and say, this is your fault for making me look dumb. Okay.
How dare you?
So I can save my bacon. I also saw that they're increasing the lap amounts from 61 to 63 with that new straight.
Okay.
So they're still trying to achieve the same total time, I think, right? For the race.
The same
Or total-
shafting of the drivers.
Total distance, right? Coming up to 300 kilometers a race.
Okay.
Dang, so it shaved off a lot more length in time than I thought. Cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, this should be good. Well, we're going to discuss our predictions for Broll position, who we think is going to start first and finish first in qualifying. We're going to have our podium predictions, and then we're also going to talk about who we think is going to be the weekend wanker. And no, it's not Gunter Steiner. Well, who wants to start us off with our Broll predictions?
Roll position.
Yep.
Anybody have any bold predictions for this one? Steven?
I think we're gonna see the master himself. He's gonna come out. He's gonna emerge from the clouds. We're gonna see an Fernando Alonso Broll position, 2023. He should have had it in Monaco. Max is a cyborg, but he's gonna mess up somehow today.
Right on.
I agree with you, man. I can't do the same Broll position prediction, but he's been lurking in the dark. He's been making comments at every track. Oh, don't look at us. We're not going to be doing super well. Yeah, he's going full Darth Vader on this track. But anyway, my Broll is not Alonso, although I think they're going to do super well. My Broll position, and I think you guys may be a little upset with me. Lando Norris. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
You stole mine.
Lando Norris. That McLaren has insane downforce. In Hungary, they smoked it. They smoked it in a good way, not in a bad way. He was very close. He was in that top 3 that was less than a tenth off from being P1. It's a little bit different track, but it's similar in terms of downforce needed. I think that McLaren's going to kill it. I think Lando's due for a big race. He hasn't had the greatest performances since summer break. Lando Norris starting the race, P1. Let's go.
I love it, Caleb. I want to interject real quick before Ryan, you jump in. Before the changes were announced, I would have agreed with you 100%. McLaren, boy, they look good. After that, a new addition. We'll see. I like it though.
Are you talking about the changes with the rules?
No, the straightaway.
Straight, yeah. See, it's making me nervous, man.
I like it though.
Well, Caleb, thanks for stealing my Broll prediction. I do think Lando is going to have a strong weekend. I would like to think Oscar, but this is his first time at this track, and this is a very tough track. It's the hardest track on the calendar for the drivers in terms of physicality. So we'll see how the rookies do. But I think for my Broll position prediction, I'm going to have to go with Carlos Sainz. I think he's coming off a high from Monza. He had pole in Monza. Let's go back-to-back poles for Mr. Smooth Operator.
Dang, he's going to really have to smoothly operate that Ferrari to get it into pole, in my opinion. Although the new straight might help him.
It's not going to hurt him with that straight line speed, baby. Woo!
That's right,
So you
Ferrari.
changed it up because of me, Ryan.
I have my backup.
Okay,
we can't
okay.
be agreeing every time, Caleb. Come on.
That's true. I know. We're always on the same like wavelength, man. Cool. Well, let's talk about podium finishes. This is where we can show our which teams we think are going to do well. Who wants Brian? I stole role position from you. You can go ahead and steal ours if they're the same.
All right. So I'm P2 amongst us. All right. So let's go with our podium prediction. I'm going to go with Sergio Perez, P1. I think he's going to have a comeback. He's not going to do all that great in qualifying, but there's going to be an issue for some other drivers up front. Sergio's the king of the streets, quote unquote. I think we'll see if he holds on to that title. So we're going to go Sergio Perez, P1. We're going to go Max Verstappen, P2, and Lando Norris, P3.
So all
Fernando
three of these
Alonso,
drivers are
yeah.
going to pass Carlos Sainz at some point in the race.
Yes.
There's going to be a pit stop botch. Come on, Steven. It's obvious.
Hey, that's
safety
true.
car, man. 100% safety car appearance, I think, at Singapore.
Carlos into the wall, causing the safety car, crashing from the lead. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I hope
I
not.
see.
Wasn't there a race a few years ago where they're at Singapore where there were like 3 race restarts or something like that?
Could have been Jeddah in 2021.
Okay.
That was a bunch of restarts.
That was, yeah.
It
Okay.
was a street race.
Yeah. Okay. Similar. Okay. Mixing up my races here, guys. Sorry.
Memory fails me.
They're both night races too.
True. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Well, that's a pretty bold podium. Sergio, king of the streets. He's going to take his title that he's had for a while. He's going to, let everyone know he still has it. That's what you're going for.
Yeah, he's got some beef with Helmet Marco. I think he's got some things to prove.
Yeesh. Talk about beef, man. Should we address that real quick?
Do you want to now or later?
Oh, well, we're on it right now. That wasn't a very nice thing to say by Helmet Marco. I think that was a little offhand.
Mexico's not in South America, you idiot.
Yeah, I think the term we got to go with here is just straight up ignorance, right? Not only is he just factually incorrect, but that's just unacceptable behavior from a position of leadership, and yeah, just not okay. We see a lot of people lose their jobs for a lot less. So I hope we see some sort of backlash, because that's just not okay for someone who's so integrated in your team. Yeah, no bueno.
I was reading that Red Bull racing team and whatever division that Helmet Marco is in are under different umbrellas beneath the central Red Bull group or whatever you call it. So he doesn't answer to the Red Bull racing team. So he can kind of say whatever he wants, and Christian Horner can't say anything about it.
Christian's just like, get this guy out of here.
Like, seriously, no more interviews, Helmet. God.
Yeah, I think that he's gonna have a PR person following him around for a while now.
You know what I would love, guys, is
Go
to
ahead.
see Sebastian Vettel come back and take that guy's job.
He did make a comment recently saying it's not completely off the table to make a comeback in Formula One.
Wow.
I think timeline wise, Marco, he's got a knack for identifying talent. There's no doubt about that. But maybe his time in the sport is coming to an end. And after Sebastian's going on his sabbatical,
Dude,
he can come back with a clear head, come back to the Red Bull family, which is where he won 4 championships. And boy, get him influencing these kids at a young age, identifying talent, pulling them up, teaching them the right way.
And what an awesome person he is too. He's always fighting for women's rights and equality and things like this. So I think Sebastian Vettel back in Formula One in some capacity would only do good for the sport.
Oh yeah, he's one of the faces, if not the face, of the 2010s. Lewis right up there with them. But yeah, I think Sergio, I think we should give him some credit for how he's seemingly handled these comments and the lack of support he's gotten from the Red Bull team. I know he's been underperforming, but I think he's been able to deal with that stress pretty well. I mean, he doesn't seem too phased in interviews. He just says, hey, this is the issue, and I'm trying to solve it. So I think after that off-brand maybe not even off-brand, but strange and disrespectful and ignorant remark by Helmut Marko. I think it put a lot of respect in my book for Sergio to just kind of, keep his chin up. Good for him.
It's not the first time he's dealt with bouts of racism as a Mexican coming over to Europe, racing at a young age. So I think he's probably weathered a few things worse than this. But
yeah, my 30-second defense of Checo is you put any other racer in that seat and they're likely to produce similar results in that they're going to be second in the championship. He has fared far better than Max's previous teammates in terms of withstanding the pressure. So not only are the comments just completely off base, but they're just factually incorrect. Sergio is a 2-time race winner this year. He's the only other person to win a race besides Max this year. So screw that. He is performing under pretty ridiculous circumstances. But
put some respect on his name.
That's right.
Cool.
He could be faster, but come on.
Yeah. You know what?
he's got a cyborg as a teammate. So
Yeah. Can you blame him? All right. Well, I'm going to share my podium, Stephen, before you, if that's okay.
Sure.
let's do it.
All right. I sure hope this comes true. I've been dreaming of this day for as long as I've been a fan of the sport. Lando Norris victory. I've got him P1. I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to that P1 with the straights, but I am willing this into existence. Please, McLaren, do something. I heard that there's a new rule change that they're introducing in to Singapore that is going to affect Mercedes and Red Bull. They theorize it's going to affect them in terms of like having flexible parts. I know it affected Aston Martin at the beginning of the season. We saw them trying to make adjustments when that rule kind of bit them in the butt, but they've now changed the rule to where it also will be affecting, and they theorize, Mercedes and Red Bull the most. So off weekend for Red Bull and Mercedes, and I think Mercedes is going to be strong on this track. Lando Norris P1. That's my reasoning and my prediction. It's not just all, crazy bias. I mean, part of it is. And then I got Fernando Alonso P2. He's going full Darth Vader. He's making his transformation right now from Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader. Order 66 has been executed, and it's being executed in Singapore. And then I got Lewis Hamilton P3. No Red Bull at all.
No Bulls.
Wow.
No Red Bull. Dude, this is a downforce track, and those three cars have been amazing in terms of high downforce tracks. So I'm thinking Red Bull is just, I think it's similar to last year. Max is going to have a low fuel load in qualifying. He's going to qualify P7 because he's going to have to abort his lap to give a fuel sample post-quali. And that's why. Just kidding.
One thing I'm going to say real quick. In terms of technical directives, one thing just comes to mind. Be careful what you wish for. Last year, they thought the technical directive was going to come in and nerf that Red Bull. Boom. It just took away their only, fair competition. Ferrari was done. They were gone.
Ooh.
Red Bull won everything else after that. But for my podium, I like your podium. Seems to be like you're on some hopium, some hopium.
Respect. Is there some respect in there, Brian? Do you
some
respect
hope
it?
that there's a
I
competition.
respect it,
this
yeah.
year?
There we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's some respect.
I'm gonna go with Fernando Alonso victory here.
Okay.
I have long said that this is the track that Red Bull's not going to win. They're not going to do it. They're not going to win every race this year, and this is going to be the one. It's a tough track, like Ryan was saying. I think Fernando is just primed for the taking. He's going to do it. Verstappen's going to have an issue, even though he's at P2 in my book. And then to round out the podium in P3, I've got Lewis Hamilton. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a good race. I think, like I said, Verstappen's going to have some sort of issue. I think Perez is going to be my weekend wanker.
Ooh.
To transition us there.
So he's not the king of the streets after this weekend. He loses the title.
Nope.
To Fernando?
I don't know if he ever had it.
For a moment, he had his hand on, didn't he?
We forced it upon him.
Too soon. Too much too
He
soon.
wasn't ready for it. He was still too young.
Yeah. Not this time.
Not this
Well,
time.
hey, you both predicted Sir Lewis Hamilton for P3. I'm the Lewis fanboy, and Yeah, I don't know. I see Mercedes struggling this weekend, but we'll see. So speaking of wankers, weekend wankers, Steven. So you said Checo's your wanker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be actually. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna change my mind. I'm gonna go with Helmet Marco because it's gonna be pretty difficult for anyone to top that wanker status in my book. We're just gonna.
You think he's
But
gonna
he
double
already,
down?
you're not predicting. He already is the wanker, Steven.
Yeah,
That's
he's not gonna be supplanted.
all right, all right. Let me get the odds on the race real quick for who's going to win before we finish out with the weekend wankers.
All right.
Obviously, Max P1 minus 450, so you bet $450 to win 100. You got Sergio, second best odds with plus 1,000, and then you got Lewis and Lando and Fernando all tied, plus 1,800 odds. So there we go. We all seem to be kind of in the right area in terms of our top three, at
Yeah.
least odds on.
There,
So
thereabouts.
And none of us have predicted the 10 race in a row winner to continue his streak. That's some serious hopium.
Yeah. Well, we have all outside of this podcast discussed that if Red Bull is going to lose a race, like you said, Steven, it's going to be Singapore. And if they don't lose Singapore, they're winning out. So part of me hopes that they do win out just so they can be on that MP4/4 status like we talked about last episode. But we'll see. Okay, let's go. Sorry, wanker. Weekend wanker. I haven't really thought much about a weekend wanker. I'm just excited to see some racing, so I hope everyone has a good week. Ryan, do you have a weekend wanker?
With the exception of like the Alpines or something, you know.
Oh, goodness.
They can never have a good weekend.
Yeah, is that I was gonna go with Alpine as being the weekend wanker as a team. And I'm wondering if that's too safe of a bet.
It's a pretty safe bet.
You get half points.
It's unfortunate. They have fallen off, man.
Well, in that case, if I'm gonna get half points for betting against Alpine, then let's go with God. It's toss up between AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo. I'm gonna say Alfa Romeo struggles this weekend. I think both cars will struggle and will not get out of Q3 or Q1, excuse me, and they're just gonna be languishing back in the lower positions with the Haas. Haas is just kind of they're wankers all the time. They just
Unfortunately,
really struggling. Poor Haas.
Poor Haas. I agree. My weekend wanker, Alex Albon, and it's not really going to be his fault. It's going to be the Williams car fault, but it's going to be the Williams. That's kind of a safe bet as well. This track I don't think is going to suit them in the slightest. I mean, the straights will help them, but I think them and Ferrari are really going to struggle, but more specifically the Williams. And I don't think they're going to get a points finish, either of them. And if Logan does get a points finish, he's got a seat for next year in my book. So that's my weekend wanker.
The tall order. I'm curious to see how Williams is going to do, because remember in Zandvoort, Albon had famously stated that he thinks they're going to be rubbish coming into the weekend, and he killed it. Had one of the best results ever in his career in Williams. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Williams is a bit of a rocket ship this weekend. I'm hopeful. I almost I don't know. I think Albon's going to be definitely into Q3 in qualifying, and maybe even top 5.
I think if they have similar success at this track than they did at Monza, at this point we can just label it a pretty decent car, right? It's no
They're
longer
back.
track dependent. Yeah. They're making strides.
And I made a prediction. I think it was post Zandvoort that Williams will be midfield by the start of next year. So if they are jumping even faster than my timeline. If they finish in the points this weekend, yeah, they're back. They're a midfield team. I mean, they certainly jumped Alpine if they outperform Alpine. That would be incredible. It would be super fun to see Williams finally fighting in the midfield for the first time in, it seems like, over a decade. So
It's been a while.
well, let's get talking. Let's just touch up on some silly season news. I mean, what do you guys, have you guys heard much, read much?
I think the big news obviously is, the Red Bull seats. Max is secured until 2028, so he's not going anywhere. But obviously, the big question is Perez going to be next to him? I think it's kind of ebbed and flowed. The Nick DeVries replacement with Ricardo we talked about a little bit. This was kind of a trial for Danny Ricciardo. Does he still have it? Is he a viable replacement for Sergio Perez if they wanted to go with that? They didn't need to replace him this year. Max has won everything by himself, including the Constructors' Championship. It's pretty ridiculous. They've got all the flexibility in the world. Yeah, I don't know. I going back and forth. I think Lando Norris obviously would be a great spot for that. But he's with McLaren for 2025. So.
Yeah, there's a no exit clause either. So I know Helmut Marko has specifically stated that he's bummed that Lando has a no exit clause, but of course you can pay good money to get out of that exit clause. Is Red Bull willing to pay that money? We don't know. I know Christian Horner has even stated that he's really interested in, even recently, that he really likes and would love Lando Norris as a driver too. So Lando's rejected Red Bull before, right? You guys probably know more about this. Twice. Especially with the way McLaren's trending in his no exit clause for his career, I think he should leave the Red Bull, but I don't think he will. I think he'll stay at McLaren and just continue to be the face of McLaren if Oscar will let him.
There's a lot to take into consideration when considering that seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to go up against Max in that car?
Yeah. We see what being teammates can do to a friendship. I know Max and Lando are really good friends, and they've said in interviews that their best friend in the paddock is probably each other. Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, they don't really talk much to each other anymore, do they? As far as I'm aware, I don't think they're buddy. They're not friends, and they grew up being like best friends. They dreamed of being teammates. So I don't think just because I don't think they would it could put their friendship in jeopardy. Not that they care too much about their friendship. It's a career. But can we see some drama?
Yeah, speaking of some driver drama, Ryan, you predicted an interesting thing concerning Lewis Hamilton. I want you to kind of come forward and address that just real quick.
Dear listeners, I have a confession. I mean, predictions are kind of shooting from the hip anyway, but I did predict that Lewis Hamilton would be leaving Mercedes for Aston Martin, and sure enough, the next day, his contract with Mercedes was extended. So I wanted to publicly apologize to everybody out there for misleading you, and it will never happen again.
On the bright side, I think Lewis Hamilton's camp is thanking you for getting the deal done for them, Ryan. You know.
They caught wind of what I was saying. They're like, "Oh shit, we gotta sign him. We've been dabbling with this contract for weeks."
Don't give Aston any ideas.
Right.
They hadn't thought of it before they heard our episode. So
Daddy Stroll heard my podcast and he's like, "You know what? This Ryan guy's got a point."
So Ryan is now a credible source, everyone.
I will never mislead you.
Oh, I'm sure
we all knew Lewis wasn't signing with anyone else. The Silver Arrows, that's his home.
It's fun
not going anywhere.
Yeah, no. Let's talk about Zhou Guanyu, though.
No contract.
No contracts.
Not yet. Same with Logie Sarge.
Teo Porcher is heavily linked to that seat. He is in second in the F2 championship right now, right? Is this the final week race for F2 or is there one more? I don't know.
You know, F3 just wrapped up. There's a spicy Brazilian. It was his first season in F3. He won it. All eyes are on him right now, so that's exciting. F2, I haven't been following too closely, but I know Teo Porcher is a name that comes up a lot.
He's right there with, I forget the other guy's name. Anyway. I'm just gonna look it up real quick if you guys want to keep talking.
Well, yeah, that's exciting. And you know, speaking of rookies, I think I was thinking about Liam Lawson in comparison to Logan Sargent, and just kind of marveling at how quickly Lawson got up to speed 2 races in, and he's already essentially matching his teammate Yuki, who is highly regarded. in qualifying, he was very close, right there within a tenth or so. And Logan Sargent hasn't really done that all season long with Albon.
Yeah,
And I think that's very telling.
there was that race, the first race that Liam Lawson ever was, that Zandvoort in tricky conditions. So he hadn't even had the slicks on his car when he started the race.
Right.
And in that same race, Logan Sargent crashed. So there's your direct comparison. He has had, 13 races up to that point on that car, versus Liam Lawson. You're just thrown to the sharks.
Yeah.
And he ended up bringing it home.
I think Williams, if they let go of Logan Sargent, they have a great option with Liam Lawson. If Red Bull, it all depends on what Red Bull's going to do with AlphaTauri. If Danny Rick's going to go back into that seat, or if they're going to go with Liam Lawson. I think that's going to be a very pivotal decision that's going to be made here probably soon.
Yeah.
I was reading a little bit, just to touch on Red Bull real quick. I think that the Yuki camp is a little upset with the Red Bull family, just because the opportunity to fill that big boy team is just not as obvious. So
yeah, Yuki made a comment stating that he is like kind of open to other teams, or is saying that he needs to be in a place where he can make that jump to maybe a sideways jump to a different team or something like that. I do have the F2 championship pulled up. I'm going to bring that up real quick. If you guys have some other comments, share them now. Okay. So Teo Porcher is actually running away with it. He's in the lead by 25 points. So I think he's pretty close to being locked up. There is just one more race of the year, and it's not until the end. It's not until the last race of the year, November 25th, right? Is that the last race? Yas Island, Yas Marina, or whatever?
Yas Marina, Abu Dhabi. Wow.
So, and then, so I'm thinking he's been heavily linked with that Alfa Romeo seat, specifically with Zhou Guanyu, and he's making a case for himself. He's doing pretty well. And then Frederick Vesti is P2, and he is, I think he's linked. He's does sim testing and stuff for Mercedes currently. I think he's one of their reserve drivers. What
does Mick Schumacher do for Mercedes?
Looks good. It's the name.
Drives on the sim, and he has his daddy's name.
Yeah,
he's a German driver with a German team.
Yeah, and Williams has kind of been the AlphaTauri to Red Bull, the Williams to the Mercedes. They've been the junior team kind of in terms of pulling drivers up. And I know that even Toto Wolff has said Mick Schumacher being in a Williams or something like that. And Frederick Vesti has been linked to that other Williams seat where Logan Sargent is. And then I know Felipe Drugovich has been linked to Aston Martin's seat with where Lance Stroll is, if Lance Stroll decides to leave. So we could see up to 3 rookies potentially next year, which would be awesome. We love rookies. We love new talent.
Back-to-back years with 3 new rookies, that would be wild. 3 new rookies each year. Lance needs to retire and go play tennis. Get out, bud. You just can't hang, dude.
Lawrence, you're one of our listeners, man. Come on.
Come on, Daddy Stroll.
I think you guys, we all understand Aston Martin is owned by Stroll just so that Lance can win this eventually, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. But
ain't going to happen.
No. That's all I got for silly season updates.
Cool. I think I'm tapped out too.
Nice. I can't wait for Singapore. It's a beautiful, beautiful race. Night race. So street circuit, high walls. It's a gorgeous track. Tune in, tell us your predictions. Good stuff.
Oh yeah. And for all you listeners, if you enjoy listening to us and you got friends who are into Formula One or friends who are struggling to get into Formula One and need a bit of a community, hit the share button and share this podcast with them. We would greatly appreciate that. And that is all. We're Bromeo One, and we'll see you post race.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.